With fall just around the corner, a lot of us are gonna need leaf blowers. It's that time of year, there's gonna be a lot of cleanup to be done. Honestly, I like to use mine pretty much year round as a light dusting of snow. It's really helpful for that, but it's also really great for cleaning grass and stuff off the driveway and sidewalk after mowing and trimming. So I use it a lot, but in the fall especially to clean up those leaves. It prevents me from having to do so much raking. And we recently on this channel talked about this blower, this one from Milwaukee. Comes in a set with a charger as well as a battery for just $3.99. Seems like a lot. And so I compared it to a cheap Amazon blower that claimed to have better stats, better specs, and you can go check out that video up here later if you want to. I'll reference that a little bit. We did figure out though, this was a better blower than the $55 one, but that really begs the question, do I really need it better for how much more it costs? But I looked back and I remembered a few years ago, I bought a blower from Costco. And it's the blower I would still be using today, but it's not mine anymore. I actually had to borrow it for this video because today I want to compare this Greenworks Pro 80 volt blower to that one from Milwaukee. And we're just gonna see how it compares because from a price standpoint, full price at Costco online, it is $289.99. $110 cheaper than the Milwaukee. And that's at full price. Right now it's showing $50 off that price. So you can save $160 buying this blower. And because of that, I think it's really important that we compare them. First off, let's compare their claims. Milwaukee claims this thing will blow 500 cubic feet per minute at 120 miles an hour. That's pretty great. Greenworks claims this one can blow up to 800 CFM at 200 miles per hour. Now that's the max. This one does have a little turbo button, which is kind of cool because I can pull in the trigger all the way, and I think it's probably kind of in the 500 to 600 CFM range. If this one's accurate, I think this one's probably 500 to 600, maybe, it's my guess. And the turbo just takes it up a level, which is pretty awesome. They both have good controls. They have the trigger control, which I really like, to be able to blow things exactly how I want, where I want, when I want, and to be able to speed it up and let off the pressure really quickly. But it also has this little thumb slide that I can use to hold the trigger down at whatever depth I want. So if I'm just gonna be blowing a lot, I don't have to hold that trigger. Well, Greenworks has something similar. It's got the trigger, but it also has this little thumb button. And if I press that thumb button down, it holds the trigger down at different depths, which has the exact same effect. And then of course, it's got the thumb button to give me a turbo. This uses an 18 volt battery, which is the same battery that you can use in all of the M18 system from Milwaukee. That's pretty cool. This uses an 80 volt battery that you can use across all the Greenworks 80 volt Greenworks Pro product line, which I used for actually the last few years. I have a trimmer, I have the blower, I have the mower, I think that's it. The battery that comes with the Milwaukee holds 12 amp hours. The one from the Greenworks only holds 4. But we need to do a little bit of science explanation here because those aren't the same thing. Amp hours is not actually how much electricity a battery can hold. In fact, it's a measure of kind of how long that charge would last given the voltage that it's at. The amount of electricity stored is actually in watt hours. So for that, you have to multiply it by the volts. So the Milwaukee battery that's 12 amp hours, that holds 216 watt hours. But this 4 amp hour battery actually holds 320 watt hours. So yes, it's fewer amp hours, but it's able to work a lot harder over the same amount of time, which means we're probably are gonna be getting more power out of this thing. So now we have the specs, but let's see how it actually performs. Let's start with the noise test. We tested the Milwaukee noise with this decibel meter and found that at its highest, loudest point, it got up to 100.8 decibels. That's fairly loud. In fact, if you're gonna be around that kind of noise, and honestly for that you had to literally hold it right here. It's a lot quieter when it's down here, like below your waist or at your waist. But still, if you're gonna be around that for a long time, you should probably wear earplugs. The Greenworks is noticeably a little bit louder. And when it's running at full capacity, like with the trigger all the way down, its loudest spot, it gets up to 109.7 decibels. And then I remembered, oh yeah, it has a turbo. So I turned on the turbo and that made it a little louder, 110.6. So it is definitely a full 10 decibels louder at its loudest when it's full tilt using the turbo. It's definitely a little bit louder than the Milwaukee. Next, we gotta see how long the battery's gonna last because we got this whole discrepancy with the 18 volt versus the 80 volt, 12 amp hours versus only 4 amp hours. So let's just turn these things on full tilt all the way and see how long the battery lasts. Today I'm just testing this Greenworks one because I already tested the Milwaukee for this other previous video, and the Milwaukee lasted a full 22 minutes. So now with the Greenworks one running, we let it run until the battery completely dies, and there it lasted only 14.5 minutes. So only about 2/3 as long as the Milwaukee. So the Milwaukee's battery life, definitely a little bit better, at least in terms of like run time for being able to actually just blow with it. Now, I found that I can use this thing for a long time. Usually, I've probably worked 30 minutes to an hour with it several times before, and that's because you're never really just like blowing full tilt for an hour straight. Obviously, you couldn't do that with this because it would only last 14.5 minutes. All right, now the batteries are empty. So let's see how long it takes to charge them from empty to all the way full using the chargers that came with them. The Milwaukee, we did this the other day. It took 2 hours and 1 minute. So now we plug in and we charge the battery for the Greenworks Pro. Now I gotta show you, let me just show you the difference in the batteries here. This is a smaller, and it's big for a tool battery because it's the 12 amp hour. Milwaukee makes the smaller ones, the 4 amp hour, probably even the 2 amp hour, that are a lot smaller and nice for a drill. And so this is kind of bulky for a tool battery, but it's great for a yard battery. Here's the Greenworks yard battery. That's how they compare. It's a much bigger battery for this 80 volt system because again, it's storing a lot more electricity. Now also recognize, and this is something to keep in mind with that battery life test I just ran, this battery and this blower are about 3 years old. I've been using them for a long time, and the Milwaukee's brand new. Battery technology has advanced a lot. The price I quoted you isn't the price I paid, it's the price for the brand new Greenworks 80 volt Pro blower that they have today at Costco. So I suspect, if I had to guess, that the new one, first of all, being a brand new battery, second of all, being a much newer one, probably does last quite a bit longer and may outlast this one. So if I had to guess, I mean, I'd call it a tie, but for the test today, I'm testing the one that I have. All right, we got it all charged up. And let's see, we said the Milwaukee took 2 hours and 1 minute, I think. The Greenworks battery was fully charged from fully empty in 42.5 minutes. That's just a little over a third of the time that it took to charge that Milwaukee battery. That's crazy. And it surprised me the Milwaukee took that long when I did that test the other day, because I was like, I could swear that the batteries I've been using for my mower and my trimmer and my blower, that they didn't take nearly that long to charge. And I've got like 4 of them. Turns out I was right. It only takes about 42.5 minutes to charge those ones. Greenworks does also have like I think it's probably an 8 amp hour battery. It's their bigger, larger capacity one. It's the one I use in my mower. And it makes it so that mower with one battery lasts plenty to do a decent size, like 1/4 acre plus yard. The whole thing. My son uses it still all the time. Okay, let's talk about some other things. We've got just ease of use and just kind of the intangibles, right? The stuff that's just kind of subjective. First of all, they're both equally easy to use. I showed you, we got the trigger, we've got the set where you can use the thumb to sort of set the speed and just run with it for a while. I do love that the Greenworks has the turbo, so I can just give it a little extra blast. And every now and then you need that, and it's super handy. The setup on these is super easy. Basically, you just attach the hose to it. It's got a little button to take it off. You just attach that on and it's good to go. I mean, other than that, there's nothing else to assemble. This also actually does come with a strap. It's got a little loop right here so you can hook a strap on there so that if you are needing to use this for quite a while, it doesn't have to just be hanging in your arm. Which leads me to another point, the weight. The Milwaukee blower with the battery on it weighs 8 pounds, 6.8 ounces. The Greenworks with the battery in it weighed 9 pounds, 4.9 ounces. Less than a pound more, but still a little bit heavier. Again, this is a model that's a few years old. I'm not sure if the new one's any lighter or not. The two blowers seem equally durable, made of very similar material, similar plastic. I'm not sure I could say one is more durable than the other, but again, I've used this thing a ton over the last few years, so I'm pretty confident with both of them that they're gonna last a long time and they're gonna work really well and not break. I mean, this thing's been beat up, it's been thrown in my car and driven to neighbors' houses to mow and stuff like that many, many times, no issues. But just in case you do have a problem with it, I wanna point out the warranties, right? The Milwaukee blower has a 3-year tool and 3-year battery warranty. The Greenworks is very similar, but it actually extends to 4 years. It's a 4-year tool and 4-year battery life, or 4-year battery limited warranty. Okay, so now we've got to get to the crux of all this because the Greenworks one is heavier, the battery doesn't last quite as long, it does charge a lot faster, but other than that, you know, it's looking like it might not be quite as good as the Milwaukee, but it is quite a bit cheaper. So let's see how it actually performs, because if it does blow as fast as it says it does, then it would explain why the battery doesn't last quite as long, and it would potentially edge out and make it a better blower in my mind versus the Milwaukee. So let's see how they compare. We're gonna do the tennis ball test, again, like we did in that video, and see how it goes. We got these set up, I turn them on. It's hard to get the tennis balls to stay in those jet streams. So I ran the test several times. I even did one where I just tossed the ball in and just flipped them all the way on. And I did one, and then I did the other, and just kind of to see how high they would go. After several tests, it looked to me like the Greenworks was blowing harder. And based on the test when we were draining the battery and how much it was blowing the paper, it actually like shredded up a piece of paper. To me, it looked like it's blowing faster than the Milwaukee. which makes me believe the spec that it states. I would bet that at its fastest trigger speed, it's probably blowing 600 to 650 CFM, and then just based on, you know, the Milwaukee at 500 CFM. And then with the turbo on, that's when it boosts its way all the way up to the 800 CFM. So when all is said and done, what's my suggestion? Go buy the dang Greenworks. Go buy it from Costco if you have a Costco membership. Here's my thought. In terms of like the battery operated tools. There are like your normal power tools, like your drills, even like a little circular saw, your reciprocating saw, you know, Sawzall type saw, all of those like hand tools that we can get, you know, in like the Milwaukee system. Whether you get Milwaukee or Cobalt or Craftsman, I don't really care which one you get, but using all of those and having one battery that you can use across all of them, not just one battery, but having the same battery and the same charger, I love that so much. I don't want 12 chargers with 12 different batteries, one for each of my tools. But for lawn tools, I think using a system, a higher voltage system, Greenworks has a 60 volt, an 80 volt, they also have a 24 volt, but having the higher voltage systems, they allow for more powerful tools. And for lawn tools, I want that power. So I am okay with having one set of batteries for my lawn tools that is made for these higher powered tools and that has the capacity to be able to mow my lawn, to be able to run a trimmer, to be able to run the blower, and then having a separate battery with separate, you know, a separate voltage, its own separate charger, and one other system for my main power tools. I'm okay with having the two separate ones because they serve two different purposes. That's my takeaway from this test that we ran here today. Thanks for joining me today. If you like tool reviews, if you like seeing how to do stuff with your tools, that's what we're all about here at Fixter. You're gonna love the other videos on this channel. You might wanna go check out the other comparison I did, because it might just be that in your case, that $55 blower from Amazon might be just the ticket. So go check that out. And until next time, this has been Rick with Fixter. We'll see you next time.